Hello, and welcome to the Exponential Growth Podcast, powered by Analyst Investors. I'm your host, David Olivencia, co-founder of Analyst Investors, and a passionate advocate for leveraging innovation and technology to drive success. In this podcast, we'll dive into the strategies that top leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs are using to navigate and thrive in this era of accelerating technological change. Whether you're looking to lead more effectively, make smarter investments, or understand how to harness disruptive technologies for exponential growth, this podcast is for you. Each episode will feature conversations with visionary thinkers, industry pioneers, and innovative leaders who are redefining what's possible in today's rapidly evolving world. So if you're ready to start and stay ahead of this curve, let's get started. This is Exponential Growth. All right, everyone. Well, hey, welcome to another edition of the Exponential Growth Podcast. Today, I have a special guest. We were just chatting a little bit and trying to figure out how long we've known each other. It's been about 15 years through technology leadership organization called High Tech. This amazing leader has had a distinguished career, a handful of great companies, Procter Gamble. These are like IT senior leadership roles, CIO roles at companies like Procter Gamble, Luxottica, Macy's, a couple others in between, and then his current role at Microsoft. In this role, we'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's Microsoft, it's the CTO of retail and consumer, and he has a cool job in that space out of beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to the podcast, Hector Medina.
Thank you, David. We're very happy to be here.
All right, excellent. Well, it's great. And by just on the Luxottica thing, I was just thinking about that. How does that relate to? Was it Meta that bought the glasses company? That wasn't Luxottica. That was a different one, right? Or
no, it's Luxottica. It is a partnership.
Okay, so they did. So it was Luxottica, and they were. I mean, that's the whole thing too, is right? They think that these, that's the new. One of the new, I guess, interfaces, right? It's going to be through, through your glasses and the reality, right? So that's you kind of were way ahead of the time when you were there.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, that was one of the projects that I worked in with innovation team.
Really?
The glasses, and that was, I don't know, 10 years ago? More than 10 years ago. Yeah. The problem was everything, right? The technology, how you can make it really appealing to the glasses and inside the glasses to make it look good, not too bulky, and keep the original frame from Ray-Ban, because what the first one, right?
And even then the Wi-Fi wasn't even that good back then either. I mean, it
was a problem. How we would connect? How we would do this and that? I mean, yeah, the technology was there, and was again a partnership. It's a partnership that they have with Meta, and that time was with other company.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Hector, so, on this podcast, we like to just start out with, to let our listeners know a little bit about you and your journey. I mean, I touched on some of the career stuff, but feel free to walk our listeners through your journey.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Mexico. That's why I have this accent. Even I've been in the U.S. for 30 years. From that 30 years, I have been 25 in the U.S., in the continental U.S., and 5 in Puerto Rico. That I love that. Puerto Rico is part of my heart. And I am a father of 3 wonderful young professionals, and two of them are they born in Puerto Rico and 1 in Mexico. So that's why I think I love Puerto Rico.
I lived there three years, late 90s. I lived in Puerto Rico for years, and obviously all my family's from there and stuff like that.
Yeah, we live in the same time in the good gold Puerto Rico days. I was in the late 90s.
Yeah. It was good times. Good times.
Yes, and I have more than 35 experience, as you mentioned, in the retail and consumer goods industries, in different companies, as you mentioned, in different executive roles, and my journey has been always in the business and technology intersection. I didn't have a traditional career, so when I mentioned that, I didn't start in technology. I'm about engineer, about chemistry, so I started in manufacturing, and then through the years I fall in love in technology and start working with technology organization of delivering things for the business because they were not delivering what the business was needing, and I was very frustrated in the business side. So I started working with them to the degree that they say, "Why you don't come and work with us?" And then I fall in love in technology and I start growing in technology like crazy. Um, I mean, professionally, because I really understand
You could be
the
empathetic
business
with
side.
the business. You
Yeah,
could be empathetic with the business. You knew how hard and painful it was, and you could stand in their shoes.
exactly. So that was I think my the benefit of my career that really make me grow. That I will understand the pains of the business and what possibilities of IT if they will focus on the business, right? So it was just really incredible.
And then in Cincinnati, I remember going there in college. Obviously great sports town, but then the chili. They said, "Oh, you go to Cincinnati. You gotta have the chili." So it's been a while since I've been back there, but it's really nice town. Really nice town. Um, well, cool. So we like to touch on trends. How do you invest? How do you lead? Let's hit on trends. And you have an interesting lens on it because you've worked in different, call it retail companies, kind of with different products, right? Now you're working with one of the world's largest companies, one of the world's most impactful technology companies, and a little bit of inside view from the company and all the changes that are going on. But you also are in these, working with senior leaders at some amazing companies, and you're getting a viewpoint of their challenges, where they're going, you know, what's keeping them up at night, etc. So when you with that lens, um, where do you to our listeners out there, do you say, hey, these are two or three just major trends that and are pretty diverse? We have college students to board members to professionals, so it's a pretty diverse audience. What would you say are the two or three things that, from your view, that you say, hey, these are trends that you got to keep on you got to stay ahead of, you got to keep an eye on because they're going to be very important to work, how you live, work, and play.
Yeah. So I think the one I believe everybody here and knows about AI, but not just AI by itself, but AI as a platform, right?
Hmm.
The agentic platforms and how that is implemented in the organizations, because this is unique. We're in a unique time that these tools can help anyone to be to create innovation, right? And to do and create AI agents and things that they before you need, a developer or somebody to help you to translate what you want to do from the business perspective to technology. Now, with
Yeah,
all the AI tools that we have, that transformation is faster, and but at the same time has becoming a challenge in the organizations because anybody can do it, right? So governance is very important. So a trend that I think is something that needs to be understood more and implementing in not just in big organizations, in the governance of this. How you gonna
yeah,
make the governance not just to give it to the business or give it to everybody or lock it down because you don't know who's gonna use it, but
yeah,
really create that governance so you can see and control and treat really these new what we call agents as a person, right?
yeah,
And that's the
yeah,
other trend that you're going to be seeing more and more, right? The interaction between the humans and all these agents and AI devices and that interaction that is going to be changing every time. Because right now we have, again, I mean, you're going to need to start understanding how you work with an agent that is a virtual agent that will talk like a person and all that, and um, and understand the limitations as well as devices that will talk to you more intelligently, right? So and understand you that's the more critical piece and the difference between in the past devices that will talk to you. These devices will understand who you are and what is your day and what you are doing and we suggest things for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, um, so that trend it is super important because it's going to change the way that we work and live, right?
Yeah.
It is even more than in the past because again, I mean, they're going to be understanding what you like, what you don't like, and make recommendations or these things for you that you know that are the things that you want to do. So it's very interesting. We live in a very interesting time.
Oh no, it's very interesting. So you say like look at AI as this the AI platform, governance. How do you manage and control the changes, the feedback loops, and then underneath it all, you've got these agents, right? And you for those who are listening, right? You need to think of a world where you might have more virtual, call it virtual AI agents in a company than employees doing tasks, and you need to interact with them, and you might even have agents doing work and then taking that work, summarizing that work, and feeding it to other agents that
Yep.
may take that work, and then maybe in the end flip it to a human
Yep.
to make a decision, push some feedback down, present 7 options, and pick one. And the side story is the one, the difference between the agents and the human is like, when they say an agent, you can give it a task, and it might take whatever. Let's say it takes a day or whatever for them to do the task, although an agent can do it pretty much instantly, right? But a
Right.
human, you give the human the same task, it takes a day. They both give you it back, and you look at it, and the human gives you like, this is wrong, this is wrong, change this, do this, and the human's kind of frustrated, right? They say,
Right. Yeah.
spent the whole day doing this, man. Now I got to go back, and the agent's like, oh, okay, no problem. And they just,
They would do.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just crank it out, right? So yeah. I mean, I totally agree, and I think people don't really understand how fast that stuff is coming. It's coming really really fast. So I think it's important to get ahead of. So is there any other major trends that you think, or that would you say that's the big one, or any other trends you want to?
Yeah, I was mentioned the human machine interaction too, right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
devices and how you interacting with AI, because now
Okay.
it's going to change in different ways in the way that you interact with AI.
Totally.
And yeah, that's a trend. And the trend, when I say machines, is machines from a device, not necessarily in your house, but a device that you we carry with you, that will be your AI with you, right?
Yeah.
Not a phone, a separate device that will talk
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
and everything. So,
Yeah.
and will be a companion with you and things like that. It's a trend that I see into in devices and AI, right? I mean, you see it too, like with the ring, with the phone, with the watches,
Yeah.
with all that. But then how all that is gonna really integrate together, so you have really one and not 30 AIs talking together and get you confused. So all that is a trend. I mean, how we can bring that device and the human machine interface, right? And the other thing too is like, and that's another trend that you're going to see. A lot of companies are um, not scared, but you cannot replace humans, right?
Mhm.
Humans still in need because AI right now, and what is the value for AI is the decision making and accelerate the decision making, as you were mentioning, right? You do
Yeah.
all these agent those tasks, whatever, and how fast I can make decisions to have a business outcome. That's a trend that we see because the more successful companies that implement these are the ones that really tie that to the business outcomes and say, I don't know all this, but how this gonna impact my revenue or speed to market or developing new products and all that, but very targeted with a business outcome. Um, I mean, that's a trend that really is growing because that is what companies want, right? They want
Hmm.
really these tools to give a value because right now these tools are not cheap and they will become cheap with time, but
Yeah.
if you know how to optimize it as well. So it's that way. So it's very interesting work because it's moving very fast.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. So those are cool, really cool trends. Now let's go to investing, right? So, you as a as a senior leader, a chief information officer at some of the largest companies, in America, and then now you're working with CTOs and CIOs, and they have to make bets on what they invest in all this time of change, right? And then, so that's kind of one aspect. So that's one aspect. Would love to kind of hear your, like, how are they thinking about investing with all this change going on? And then the other side is just as you think about investing, your personal, how are you thinking with all this change? SpaceX just going crazy. Obviously there's venture out there, and markets are at all-time highs. So the two angles on just how people maybe at the corporate, how they're making investments, and then just you personally in this environment with all this change going on.
Yeah. So as a company, what I see is that they are looking for, if you think about startups and all that, that they are working in platforms, no specific and targeted solutions. When I say that, is because really the value is a platform that they can be a SaaS product, and then they just can pay for the usage for this and resolve many problems, not one problem. Because a lot of I see some startups, they are very focused on, I'm going to create a AI solution for this specific problem, and but they're not thinking that it's one problem, even if it's big, it's a huge problem in humanity you want to think about. But the maintenance and how you're going to make value and economic value of that is, if you really think about a platform, long-term sustainable platform. And is what and when I say that, is because that will include security, governance, and all the other things that big corporations are looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me as a person, I look really for that ones that think about not just a platform, but how they think about the future, and that they are more stable in meaning that they know what they're going through. Let me explain why I say that. A lot of startups, they have great ideas, but they don't ask questions to executives like you or angel investor to say, hey, how I do security on this idea that I develop in terms of solution or governance or other things that are basic fundamentals. And then when they come to investment, they are too risky, right? Because then they can be hacked, or they can be, and they are not protecting their IP, right? I mean, it's very important to have that. So as an investor, I look for that, not just the innovation part, but at the same time that they understand that all this needs to happen for them to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And they start thinking as a business as well, right? And it's hard because some of the startups they have great ideas, but no, they don't have a business plan, or they don't think about how they're going to market or how they're going to sell their product.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
being a startup founder is hard. I always tell people, are you sure this stuff is hard? It is, because you got to be good at all that stuff.
exactly. Yeah. Yes. But my point is, if they have or they approach like angel investors, or and they are in the community making network to understand that, then you can see that they are really, really going in the right direction. They are, they hungry to be successful. They're the ones that I'm looking for and say, yeah, I mean, this is going to be something, not just because of technology, but everything else that they're doing. And the human aspect, I think, is very important on all this when you invest, right? For me, not just invest on that, but it's something that this human aspect of this, that they love what they're doing and they love the
Oh,
product.
yeah,
That human
you
aspect.
got to have passion. You got to have
Oh,
passion, because
yes.
there's going to be ups, downs, ins, out. Look at Elon Musk, man. That guy, he had two or three rockets blow up, and then he ends up, doesn't almost gives up, almost runs out of money, and then
Yeah,
obviously he
but keep
went on to,
going, right? He kept going.
yeah,
He like, it want to be successful. It's a good
yeah,
thing. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
So that's important. Okay, cool. So now let's go to leadership, right? So uh, you've led, multiple, Fortune 500 organizations, and now you're a leader within a Fortune, whatever, 20 company, 10 company. And You work with leaders of Fortune 5, Fortune 100 companies, right? So what stays the same? When you kind of just think about principles of leadership, like what stays the same? And then what do you say? And with this and AI agents and computer interface and governance and virtual reality, augmented reality, like we either focus more on this in leadership or this is a new leadership thing. What's your take on leadership, Hector?
Yeah, I think a lot of things will stay the same, but you need to treat them as well as part of your team. And when I say that is the agents, for example, you create agents and your team is there, they need to you need to if you have a high performance team, for example, they need to understand the interaction between that agent and you and the team, right? So in the past, you will be doing you did or at least I did a lot of and a lot of executives and these assessments on how these people work together and how these people work with the different personalities, if they are innovators or they are more quiet or they are the things. Now that's going to change just a little bit because they will need to interact with an agent too. And you think about an agent as a person, doesn't have feelings, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah, you can
just
tell to go back and do the work. Go back and run oh yeah, okay, I'll run.
execution, right? So we'll do the wrong. Well, it will not have the feelings or the things. Maybe we should just things that they know, but that's going to change a little bit. That you will need to lead your team on it's okay if you don't feel like it's doing all the work, right? I mean, you still have value. But I think most of the leadership things that you have are going to stay. I always say, and I would be a servant leader. So I always give, things to my team to be successful. And I think that will continue. The people that we have, support to be successful will be successful. And part of that will be to understand these new technologies and how they interact with you and that you will support them for the development and all that. So, because it's a key piece of it's going to be a key piece of the development and the development of the organization, right? That they understand that. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And the one point you mentioned, I think what becomes more important, and you touched on this, is your vision. As a leader, you got to have a vision, right?
yeah,
And as a leader, you also got to always be continuously improving and educating yourself. And we're in times now that if you're not aware of all this stuff going on, you're not gonna be able to give your team and your group a good vision because there's all this rapid growth of tools and capabilities. How are you going to lead your team better than your competitors if your vision it's still the same? It's always important, but the information that you have and the education that you have to get in the right way is vital, right? It's vital.
right.
It's like exponentially more important now.
Yes. And how you, again, your team needs to do that too. So they need to know as well, right? So
Right.
will be your acceptance and the change of your team acceptance, right? So it's going to be that very, well, no, it is very important for your success, right? So, and I've seen that a lot and as a changing in the culture in the organizations. And it's a big piece actually of all these changes, right? As always, human or
Totally.
interaction, the culture of the organization, all that is changing and needs to change because now we'll not be successful. So, yeah, that was say we live in a very interesting time because it's not just the technology, but it's everything that needs to change to be successful today. So,
Great. Well, Hector, look, I know you got a ton going on working with all those CTOs at all those amazing companies and working for a great company. How do our leaders and those listening to this podcast, how do they stay connected with you on social media?
oh, and LinkedIn, they can connect with
LinkedIn.
me in LinkedIn and
Yeah.
they can look Hector Medina and just connect with me. And just mention, I believe, that it's through this because now we're not. I will send back saying, "Hey, why? Where I know you? I
Yeah.
don't know you. Who are you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Give him,
just
if
in
you're
the
going to connect
mention.
with him, give him the context and actually
Exactly. Need
tell
a
him
little context,
one or
and
two
then it's
things that
okay.
you liked. Yeah. On that. So yeah.
Exactly.
So on LinkedIn. Well, Hector, again, thanks. And for those who are listening, a special shout out to Executive House. They're the sponsor of this podcast. You can check them out online at the Executive House and YouTube and watch some amazing, amazing videos. So thank you, everyone. And until next time, and thank you, Hector.
Thank you. Bye bye.